In the last video, we saw how by switching to the editing mode in Anima, the interface changes and which are the new panels. Okay? In this video, we are going to use and learn how to use the actor information panel. This is a panel used for creating visual variations of our models. Okay? First of all, I want to select a different model. Let's say this guy here. Left click on it. I will hit spacebar to stop the animation playing. And as you can see here in the actor information, there are these options, but these options are disabled. Why is that? Because we are working at the moment, we have selected a system actor. As you can see here in the library actors, there is this section system with the 40 actors that come with Anima, but we cannot change a system actor. What we have to do is to create a copy of this. And how we do this? Very simple. We select it, we right click on it, and we left click on duplicate. Okay? And that's it. But where this character is placed, then we just have to collapse the system section, and you will have here the project section with this new character. And as you can see, there is the icon that tells us that this character has been customized by the user. We have created a duplicate. Okay? So let's stop the animation. As you can see, as soon as I have this new character selected, in the actor information panel on the right, most of the options are enabled. Okay? So this is very important. Another important thing is that if you are in this situation, where you have this character playing a specific animation, you don't have those panels, for example, the actor information panel, you probably have the wrong selection in the library motion clips. As I told you in the previous video, in the editing mode, it's very important the combination between the selections of the library actors and motion clips. So in this case, we need to have selected in the library actor the actor we created, we duplicated in this case, and then the rest pose in the library motion clip. Left click on it, and then we have it. Okay, let's spacebar to stop the animation, and I will expand a bit the actor information panel to have more space. Okay, now we have this, we can start working on it. Let's start by talking about these buttons we have here at the top of the actor information panel. On the right, we have the save button. Now, the save button is very important. Okay, each time we change some of the options inside the actor information panel, this button activates. It works exactly the same as the generate button on the simulation elements in the drawing mode. Okay? Then on the left side, we have 5 buttons. The first 2 are enabled. Okay? The 3 disabled, we will talk about them in a moment. The first 2 is the first one. Let me grab a snapshot of this model here to be used as character thumbnail. Okay? So if we make changes, colors, and so on, we can just use this button here, okay? Or we can use this second button to load a custom image as a character thumbnail, okay? Then we go to this text field. Now, this text field has the first line is the character name. It's the character that we have here in the actor information header panel and the text panel header also. But it's also the name we have that appears in the tooltip if we hover this character in the library actors. Okay, and then we have the second line, this, which is the description. Now the description is quite easy to understand. Okay, it's fine. What I don't like too much is the name. In this case, the name is a code, okay, made of several parts and so on and so forth. I usually would prefer to give characters names a bit more understandable, okay, easy to understand. So I will name it Young Man A. A, it means we could have version A, version B, version C, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we hit enter, and as you can see, as soon as I've changed this name, the save buttons activates. So we left click on save button. This is saved, and then as you can see, we stop the animation. As you can see, this name appears in the actor information panel header, tags header, and then also here in the tooltip. Okay, in the library actors. Okay, so very simple. Description already told you why it's important. Naming correctly assets is always important, especially when you're working in team. So keep in mind this. Then we have the height option. Well, this is quite self-explanatory. We can set the height of the character, and anima will change automatically the model, the skeleton, okay? And we will be able to use the same motion clips on that character, okay? So it's very easy. Let's see what happens, okay? So let's change this, these are meters, okay, to 1.15 centimeter, okay? Well, meters. 1 meter and 50 centimeters, okay? So as you can see, to see the effect, we need to click on save. So left click on save, and let's see what happened. What happens? Something seems to be smaller, but I'm not sure is the model, okay? Or well, it should be, okay? Why I'm saying this? Because if you see the markers of the feet and the orientation, the circle, about the orientation of the character, they seems a bit bigger, okay? And they actually haven't changed the size. What it's smaller is the model itself. If you don't believe me, we can change it back to 1 meter and 84 centimeters. Okay, something like this. Let's left click save again. And what I'm expecting is that these markers will be smaller, and actually they are. Okay, so important. This is very useful to create different heights and different variations, more important variations. Okay, then we have this edit mode option. Now, very important is not to confuse this edit mode with the editing mode we are working with. Okay, this is the edit mode inside the actor information panel. Very important. Before going and see the drop-down menu and the options of this edit mode, let's see what the texture browser contains. Okay, we will leave the first option at the moment, and we will go directly to these icons here. These icons represents the textures or images used by the materials assigned to this model, and if we double-click them, left double-click, we can see the folder where they are. Okay, now here we have colors, textures, we have normal map textures, we have specular and high textures, and so on. Why is this important? Well, first of all, we can have a look at these textures. Okay, so for example, double-click this color texture, and we can see how these textures are made. But most importantly, we can, for example, open this image, this texture, in an external program, let's say Photoshop, okay, and make changes. Change the colors, change the details, add more details, and add tattoos and something like this. Okay, well, there is already a tattoo here, but we could add a different one. So this opens up a new possibility to make bigger variations. Okay. Okay, once we have done our work in an external program, what we need to do, or more exactly must do, is to save the image, the new texture, on top of the old one, okay, with the same name in the same location. And what happens is that when we go back to anima, let's minimize this, when we go back to anima, anima will update and then load the new texture. So this way we can work and make even more changes in to our characters. Okay. Now the first option is the flip normal option. Okay, and we have here two choices: no, which is the default value, and the yes. Okay, let's select the yes option. Okay, and as you can see, something has changed about the way the shadowing on this model is calculated. Now, why is this? Okay, let's talk about a bit what the normals are. Usually the normal is a geometric property, okay? It's a property of the geometry of the model, the triangles, vertices, faces, and so on and so forth, okay? But there is also another way of storing normal information, which is a normal map, okay? I will show you. Left click 2 times, double click here, and these images here, these textures, bluish textures, are the normal maps. Okay, these are containers of normal map information. So how it is used? Well, this more detailed information is used to simulate more fine details. Let's say, for example, the wrinkles on the t-shirt and the trousers. Okay, for those who usually work with real-time render engines, for example, Unreal Engine, Unity, or even Anima in this case, this normal map is very, very important. Okay, usually it's used everywhere, even if in offline renders. Okay, so in this case, for example, what could happen is this. Since this normal map usually is generated in an external program such as 3ds Max, ZBrush, Cinema 4D, and so on, each program stores this information in the texture in a different way. But Anima only works with a specific way. So sometimes we could, for example, have these textures generating this effect. Now, the normals in general are very important because are used by the lighting to interact with the surface. The normals tell to the render engine how the light has to interact with the surface. So they are fundamental. Now, if we had, for example, this situation where we have a sort of inverted lighting, inverted shading effect, then we should set to yes to flip the normals inside Anima. Now, I've set it to yes now just to show you the issue, okay, what could happen. But usually the actors coming in Anima are fine. They are fine set and configured, okay? So we don't have to worry about it. Then we can change the edit mode options and see the others. Let's go to the generate variations. Okay, this is very important because we have the variation editor. Now, if you remember, in the crowd section of the path, for example, or in the options specific to a character, there are some options related to variations of colors. Okay, and this variation editor is where we can change those variations we already have or add new ones, which is the thing we are going to do. Now, if you notice, as soon as we set to generate variation, this edit mode, we have these 3 buttons activated. Okay, so let's see what they do. The first one is to create a new variation. Okay, so let's left click on it and we create a new variation. As you can see here, the maximum number changes to 5. Before it was 4. Okay, so we have this new variation. Some colors here set. These options are actually those we need to use to create colors variations. Okay, then we have a second button which let us delete the current selected variation. So how we select the variation we want to delete? Well, we just move this slider. Okay, so in this case, if I would click on this button, left click, of course, I would delete this variation here. Okay, so I won't do this now. I will set it back to 5. And then we have this last button, which is very interesting because if we left click on it, it will randomize these values and then create different combination. So I will, for example, left click a couple of times and trying to get some interesting result. For example, this one, okay, a bright green. Okay, so what I suggest you to do is to create a new variation, to start with this randomized variation with this button, and then start working with these options. Okay, the first option is the color filter. Now, this is a sort of overall color filter. Okay, so we can change it, and as you can see, we can change the hue, but it's something that that affects the whole texture in a uniform way. Okay, then we have the filter amount. The filter amount is the mixer which define the amount of this color filter. Okay, so at the moment I will set it to 0. Why is this? Because when the filter amount is set to 0, only the last 3 options are working. Okay, so we can change the hue, which is something a bit more specific. Let's say I want to something like this. Okay, we can set the saturation. I would set it something like this. Okay, and we can set the luminosity. Let me set something a bit more darker or brighter. Okay, so I will set it something like this. Okay, perfect. Now, what happens if I set the filter, I increase the value of the filter amount? Let's see. You see, what happens is that it mixes the values generated by the color filter and these three last options: hue, saturation, and luminosity. Okay, so we can create several different ways of working. Now, what happens when the filter amount is set completely to 1, which would be 100% color filter? Well, you could expect that the only one working would be the color filter. And no, it's not exactly this way. The color filter would work, of course, as you can see here, okay? The only option here of these three that wouldn't work is the hue. As you can see here, we can change it and it doesn't work, but we can still work with the saturation and luminosity. Okay, I will keep it darker. Okay, so that's it. It's very, very simple. And remember, I suggest you to start with this randomized variation and then create your variation using these options in the way you prefer. Okay, then we change the edit mode to what? To the protect range. Why is that? As you can see, those color variations only affect the clothes, the t-shirt, the shoes, and the trousers. Why is that? Well, we go to the protect range edit mode, and as you can see here, appears these yellow masks. These yellow parts are those parts not affected by those color variations. Okay? And this is the place where we can set these masks. Okay? First of all, we skip a bit for a moment the color protect range section and we go directly to these two lists. The right one is the protected materials. Now, what is a material? A material is something that describes how a specific surface has to react to light. Okay? So it defines surface properties. But also defines which part of the model, which triangles, polygons, vertices, corresponds to which part of the textures used in those materials. Okay? So the protective materials, in this case, defines those parts, as you can see, eyes and mouth, hair, head, and skin, which have not to be affected to the color variations. For this reason, are in the protected materials list. On the left side, there are the changeable materials, which in this case are called clothes. And these are exactly what we were working with. Okay? So this is very, very important. Okay? So what we could do, for example, is just to left click and drag a material from one list to another to change this. Okay? Let's say, for example, the skin. So as you can see, I could now integrate the skin inside the changeable materials. But as you can see, there are some areas still masked. Why is this? Well, first of all, I don't want to change the skin, so I will left-click and drag again into the protected materials. But I want to now talk about these color protect range sections and these options. Now, the first three options are ranges. We can set through these ranges a range to protect certain hues, a range to protect certain saturation values, and a range to protect certain lightness values. Okay? But the most important property option is the threshold. The threshold defines how much this mask set by the protected materials and this protecting ranges is expanding or collapsing. Okay, if I change this, as you can see here, now this mask is affecting mostly or also the clothes. Okay, so for example, I can do something like this. Okay, something like this. So as you can see, there are part of the t-shirt and the trousers that won't be affected by these color variations. Let's see what happened now. Let's click save, just to be sure not to lose our work. Okay, and let's go to change the edit mode to the color variations. Okay, let's stop the animation. Okay, so let's change here and go back to generate variations. And as you can see here, you see what before was completely blue now has some of the red base color of the texture of the original texture. Okay, so we can, for example, do something like this. Okay, and make some more changes. Okay, and make it, you see this shading here? This is a bit more interesting of what we had before, something more flat. Okay, so we can really play and create several variations this way. Okay, the last option we are going to see is the edit materials. Okay, this is not actually something that is related to the color variations. Okay, but how the materials created by externally for this model, which are these 5 materials here, have to be manipulated, interpreted by anima. When we export, for example, this simulation, and we will see how to do this, to a program, let's say 3ds Max, and then there we want to render this, integrate this simulation and render it in the V-Ray render. So these options here for each material let us tell to anima how it has to convert this material when exporting it to an external program, and in this case for an external render such as V-Ray. So when anima creates the material, the V-Ray material for hair, it will set it for a correct hair shading. Same thing goes for the skin, the eyes, and the fabric. Okay, so this is very important. And the number of materials here is not defined by anima, but by the person who created this model externally, and also apart from the model, also the materials. Okay, so we have this. We can click on save, and we have our variations. Now, what happens if we want to delete something we created? Because this is a test, we want to change it. Very simple. Right click on it in the library actors and left click on delete. Okay, so for this video we stop here. We'll see in the next one where we will be talking about tags and categories. See you soon.